let's solve exercise 5. We're going to write a program that accepts a date from the user in the form. So month, so 2 digits for month, /day, /year, and then displays it in the form year, month, day. Right, so here's an example of what your program might look like. We're going to display a message, enter a date. So we want to give the user a hint about what they should do. Month, month, day, day, year, year. Right, 1/25/2015. And then we want to show that the end of the date is 2015, 1/25. All right, so let's take a look at this, and then we'll test with some different inputs. And what I've done then is here in code blocks, I've got a blank file. I just copied the problem statement in here. We're going to use printf and scanf, so we need to include standard.io.h. Right, if we weren't using functions from the library standard.io.h, we wouldn't include it. All right, so we've got our main function. Program always returns a 0 by convention. So we're probably going to need, right, we're going to need some variables. So let's go ahead and make these integer variables. So let's have month, day, year. All right, and then we want to prompt the user with a message. So we're going to say, enter the date in our form, enter a day, right? We gave them a hint. And we had a colon after that. All right, now we don't want to use the new line character here. I'm going to leave a space because we want the cursor to be on the same line next to this message to allow the user to enter that information. I'm going to say scanf. So the user is going to enter, right, an integer, and we want a pattern match. We're telling the user to enter this to separate the date. So another integer, and then another integer. So we're pattern matching integer /integer /integer. We want to read that. So the user is going to have to type these 2 forward slashes. And we want to store it in the address of month and the address of day, address of year. All right. And then we want to print out a message with something like, you entered the date, you entered the day, so %D, %D, %D. And then we said we wanted, well, we want year, month, day. And let's print a new line before this and a new line after this. So if we've got this much, let's just run this and see what happens. So let's build and run. All right, scroll up. All right, didn't have any warnings or anything. So now the terminal window pops up, and I said, well, what happens if we enter 1/25/2015? All right, this says we entered, well, I did enter 205/125. So it helps if I type correctly. So these 2 inputs result in correct output. So we want to test it with 01/25/2015. So with a program written like this, what happens if I just run it again? I don't need to rebuild, I didn't make any changes. So if I say 01/25/2015, what do we get? We get 2015 1/25. Right. And the way we wrote this, we didn't specify any field width on the output. So it's going to use the minimum field width of 1 here. Let's just even do a run to cursor here. So what I did was I put the cursor right here at the printf, right click, said run to cursor. All right. it's showing variables from another program in the watch window until I actually put something in here. So we did 01/25/2015. Right, so you can see month got the number 1, day got 25, year got 2015. Right, and now if I just said, well, let's run the next line of code, because we've got, see this yellow triangle here, that's the next line of code to be run. So if I just say next line, it shows our output there. If I hit next line, it'd say return. I'm just going to end the debugging session here. Right. And if we also input 1/25/2015, right, we should get successful output as well. So notice here, this was only 1 wide. So let's just go ahead and run. Control F10 is a shortcut for that. And now if I just say 1/25/2015, we'll get the same output. The important thing is that we pattern matched here with the forward slashes. All right, let's look at other things in the program. It said, what happens if I just type 01/25/2015? So what happens if I leave out those slashes? So we're going to say run. So now I'm just going to type 01/25/2015. I hit the enter key, and it says, boy, I entered some real garbage there. Scanf basically failed because I didn't pattern match. It should have read in the 01 into months, but when it actually what it did was it tried to read this whole thing in as an integer, right? Because there was no forward slash there to stop with the integer pattern matching. All right, let's use the debugger. All right, so I'm going to put the cursor here. I'm going to say right click, run to cursor. In this case, then, what it does is it executes this line of code to print out. There's my message sitting there. It's waiting for me to type something in with scanf. So if I type 01/25/2015 and hit the enter key, right, it hasn't executed this line of code yet. That's what that yellow triangle means. You can see in months. So the first thing we tried to read and store in a month, %D, was it looks like it stored 125/2015. Right, that's what it's stored there. Those are the digits it's showing us. In day and year, it had whatever garbage was there from memory. And now if we try to print this, notice then it's going to try and print year first. So this is where the 90 is coming from in my system. 90 is in there from garbage. 8 is in there from day, from that garbage that's in memory, because it didn't fill it with anything. It didn't read this from the keyboard. All right, if I hit next line, it executes printf, so we see the 90. And so that was our year. Then our month, because it read the 125/2015 into month, we see that popping up, and then we see the 8 popping up under day. So it tried to read everything as just one integer. All right, so scanf, when you're using this with this pattern, your user has to type things incorrectly. Now, we haven't learned how to error check yet. There are ways to error check, and we'll learn that eventually. I just need you at this point to be aware of the fact that if the user doesn't type what you expect, you get different results. So we're trying to understand this whole pattern matching scheme here with scanf. All right, let's take a look at what happens if we type in 125A. All right, let's just go back to our program and let's set each one of these to be, let's initialize each one of these to be 0. So month equals day, assign to day, year, assign 0, and assign 0 to year. This says go ahead and assign 0 to year. The result of this expression is a 0. It assigns 0 to day, and it assigns 0 to month as well. All right. So let's just do a run to cursor. It'll rebuild based on our changes. And now I said to type 01/25/A. Hit the enter key. Right, so in memory, right, the first thing we type the 0, 1, and then the /. Well, it matched the pattern. The 0, 1 matched the pattern of an integer. It said, oh, does 0, 1 make an integer? Yes, it does. I'll just store that month. Then the / matched this pattern. So that was okay. Scanf continued on and said, oh, I need to read another integer. Well, 25 is another integer. This / ended the integer pattern, so it took the 25 and stored it there in day, because we said take the second thing we read and store it in the address of day. Now, it failed to read here. A is not an integer value. A is a character. So it doesn't recognize A as a decimal integer value. Right? %D says, I'm looking to read some base 10 information here. I want you to interpret it as that. So in this case, then, we see that year has a default value of 0 that we assigned to it. I went ahead and assigned 0 so we'd know what the starting values were and we wouldn't depend on the garbage that was in memory. Right? If we went ahead and said next line to print that out, right, we'd see that we got 0, 1 for the month, 2, 5 for the day. All right, let's stop the debugger. And other cases it asks us for, well, if we type 0, 1A, 2, 5, it's going to read the 0, 1 in a month. It's going to fail on the A. The A is not going to be an integer, and so year won't read the 2015 in. All right, so we'll run with this 0, 1A, 2015. We're going to run 01/A/2015. All right, what we're going to see is we got the 0 for the year, the 1 for the month, and the 0 for the day. Let's do that with a run to cursor here. All right. So 01/A/2015. Notice here in memory, the first 0 or 1, it was able to read this as a base 10 number, store it in month, because 0, 1 matches an integer pattern. Then we match that / pattern, so we match this, so scanf was able to go on and be successful, and now it's going to try to read the next integer and store it in day. But because it read A, and A is not a base 10 integer, the character A, it fails. Once scanf fails, it doesn't read any other information. As a matter of fact, this A/2015 is still out there in the buffer waiting to be read. All right, so that's why we saw this printing out. When we printed out the year, it printed out the default value of 0 that we had stored in the year. When we printed out the month, it printed out the 1, and then this day came from the default value of 0 we had assigned to day. Right? Like I said, these are just exercises in how scanf's pattern matching works. You have to work with scanf quite a bit to get used to it. But just remember its pattern matching techniques. So the last thing we'll try is A/25/2015. I'm just going to put the cursor here right before the return, run to cursor. So now we want to type A/25/2015. It's going to fail at reading the A, so we should see all zeros print out. All right, I'm going to hit the enter key. And notice it said you entered the date 000. 000 is what's showing here in memory. Remember, we assigned 0 to everything. We initialized it to 0. And scanf failed immediately. Scanf said, hey, I'm going to look to read an integer, and I'm going to look at what's out on the stream. Well, what's out on the stream in A? Oh, that's not an integer. That's a character. I'm supposed to read an integer. I'm just going to quit now. So scanf, as soon as it fails, it doesn't go out and read any more information on the stream. The function just actually returns at that point. All right, so that's the end of exercise 5. Play around with that a little bit on your own. Ask questions. I'm sure you'll have questions.